62 laps to go in the MBNA America 400, and a very rare situation in which all of the lead lap cars had pitted except Dave Blaney and the number 12 of Ryan Newman. So Newman comes onto pit road, hits the end of pit road, knocks the tires out of whack, and causes a caution. He then commits a few pit road violations and gets himself penalized a lap. But he was just about on a lap of his own at the time. So the caution freezes the field, pace car picks up the field, and now we're getting ready to restart with Mayfield the leader, Kasey Kahne right behind him, and Jimmie Johnson essentially getting a free stop in the pits because he's not going to lose but one spot and line back up behind those other leaders. Now in front of Mayfield are drivers who stopped under green and got trapped on the tail end of the lead lap. So there'll be lead lap cars in front of Mayfield, but they are behind the pace car, and they are Tony Stewart, Dave Blaney, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, and the 99 of Jeff Burton. We're still working out the free, if Mark Martin was the free pass car, and if so, and if he was waved around, he would start at the tail end of the longest line. If he was the car that was one lap down at the instant of caution, and we're checking on that.
Which that's the reason that would make Jimmie Johnson's pit stop a free pit stop, because he came in third. Since Mark Martin will have to start at the tail end of the longest line, and just to explain what the tail end of the longest line is, there's two lines of car on a restart. The lead lap cars to the outside, the one or more lap down cars to the inside. Longest line means at the end of whichever one of those lines is the longest, so he'll be able to go right back up there essentially behind Kasey Kahne in the 9.
So if what we're saying is correct and official, Rusty Wallace on the restart would be the first car one lap down.
I know now why I like being a driver. Because all I'm doing is sitting out there saying, what the heck's going on?
And then I'll just tell you to line up behind who they tell me to tell you to line up behind.
There's Rusty, who is one lap down.
And he's actually the first car that's being shown a lap down, so he should be, when we get to one to go, be able to pull up to the inside of the lap down cars, which would basically all but put him back on the lead lap.
Well, yeah, but that's assuming that those guys in front of the 19 don't decide to double up. So there's a lot of things that's going to happen here in the next
It's going to get very interesting
half hour anyway.
And what's going to be more exciting, we only have 60 laps to go in this race.
And the reason that Ryan Newman was practically on a lap by himself was that all of the other lead lap cars had already made their green flag stops. Now Matt Borland has appealed to the NASCAR officials. That's been relayed to the tower back and forth. There's Don Miller, one of the owners of that team.
Yeah, what they're arguing is, and understandably, is that I was on a lap by myself. So if you're going to penalize me a lap, that just puts me back in the same lap with everybody else.
And the difference would be right now probably being 4th or 5th on the lead lap, or where he's at right now, which is 14th, one lap down.
Well, there are a lot of questions about position, and before we go back to green, NASCAR is trying to at least get each of those teams an answer. But our scoring shows that Jeremy Mayfield is the leader of the race from his teammate at Evernham Motorsports, Kasey Kahne. And if you're Ray Evernham, how would you like to have this race just drop right in your lap like this?
But, you know, I certainly understand Matt Borland's feelings. I've been in this position, and that's why I applaud NASCAR trying to sort it out. Once we go back to racing, you can't fix it. If it's right or if it's wrong, you can't change it, and that's what Matt Borland is saying. We have to fix this before we go back racing. But, yeah, I mean, Ray Evernham, besides Tony Stewart, the 20 car, he has had the 2 best race cars here almost all weekend, including on qualifying day.
Now NASCAR can snapshot the field at the instant of caution, not exactly as the cars are running, but as they passed the last of their timing lines, and they have several embedded around the racetrack to try to determine as closely as possible where everyone was running at the instant of caution, and they have the advantage of video replays to also help in positioning cars for the lineup, the restart lineup. 58 laps to go in what's been a very interesting day here at Dover. Tony Stewart has dominated, but Stewart now finds himself as one of those cars on the tail end of the lead lap after leading 234 laps.
Now, Tony Stewart, where his problems are is when he missed pit road. If he had not missed pit road, he'd be sitting there on the lead lap with Jeremy Mayfield, Kasey Kahne, and Jimmie Johnson, Mark Martin as well. So that could be a very costly mistake, even though it wasn't as magnified as Ryan Newman's accident.
What about fuel mileage? I mean, I think everybody's in their window, and with these cautions,
everybody should be good to go.
Equation.
Should to go.
shouldn't be any more stops for fuel.
Well, let's go back down to the Hollywood Hotel and see who's checking out.
Well, you know, thanks, guys. Jeff, you were noticing, obviously, when Tony Stewart came in, Ryan Newman, I mean, obviously the drivers are the guy hot on the spot here, but they weren't the only ones involved necessarily.
No, I think a lot of times you can forget there's another player in this, and has to be the crew chief. Let's take a look at what's going on as far as the whole race is concerned. Right now, early on, lap 12, 41 car, Casey Mears, he gets out of control and hits the inside wall. On lap 38, right at the start of a restart, number 97 car gets in the back of the 38 car, and they have a big wreck there.
Both Sadler back in the race, Casey Mears, but Joe Nemechek, who wrecks in the 01, was not able to return. And Jeff Gordon, 4-time winner here in turn 2, out of the race, frustrated about those safer barriers. And here's the pit mistake by Tony.
Tony Stewart coming in too hard. He misses pit road, but then just a few laps later, all of a sudden Ryan Newman tries the same thing. His car gets away from around. He goes, hits the tire barrier as well as the inside wall. That brought out our last caution. We're trying to sort all this stuff out. But guys, and Larry McReynolds and Darrell Walter, you know this to be true. Sometimes that crew chief's on that radio saying, guys, we're going to get 4 tires. Now, driver, hustle, hustle, hustle. We got to make up time. Don't want to lose any time getting off on the pit road. So you got to get here for me, buddy. And what happens is that driver is trying so hard to get to the end of pit road so he can not cost his team any time. He makes a mistake, overdrives it, or there's debris down there at the end of pit road he's not expecting. The car gets away from him. And what's going on right now is the cause of it.
What does Matt Borland
one lap down?
A legitimate argument about being over-penalized here?
I think he does, because when he came out, he was only 1 lap down. So when they penalized him a lap, he only should have been on the same lap as the rest of these guys right now, because he had the rest of the field a lap down. So I think that's the correct call.
56 miles to go. Let's go back up, rejoin Larry, Darrell, and Mike.
One of the things that I think has really created all these problems this year is that commit line. See, we never had that before. And so you can come to pit road a little hotter than what guys are accustomed to. And that commit line, as you can see, is back the pit road up quite a bit. So you've got to get down there and be slowed down or committed when you get to that point.
But that's also here at Dover. That's where pit road speed starts as well.
So the tail end of the lead lap cars on the outside line are Tony Stewart, Dave Blaney, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, and Jeff Burton. Then comes the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield. He's the race leader, and he is back right there behind the white car of Burton. Here we go. These drivers will be struggling to stay on the lead lap and keep from going a lap down and hope for another caution. 55 laps to go. We're back under green.
Here you see Jeremy Mayfield back there, about 12th or 13th spot on the racetrack.
Losing the lead to Casey Kane.
On the outside. And here comes Jimmy Johnson in as well. Jeremy Mayfield.
Oh, trouble is Blaney. Michael Waltrip and Blaney got together. There goes Blaney into the wall.
There goes everybody.
Yeah, Ryan Newman's in it. Greg Biffle.
48 car.
Half the field, it looks like.
And the 9th caution of the day will be huge.
40, 41, 31, 0.
When the leader restarts in the middle of the pack, this is frequently the result.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'd almost bet you that something like this might have happened.
And Tony Stewart, a lot of those cars, Michael Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, they will be back on the lead lap. Looks like every car has driven away except for Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, and Dave Blaney.
Johnson had a car that might have won it. And Mayfield, who was the leader, is now wrecked. And of that group, I feel worse for Blaney, who in a part-time ride for Bill Davis was having the best race of his year.
Well, you got to feel sorry for Jeremy. He got boxed and he couldn't go, and that's what that got him in a position where he got in that wreck.
I don't know how much damage he has. The problem is it's rained here for a day and a half and he's stuck in the mud down there.
The dirt is so soft there, the ground is so soft, that front valence, Larry, must be all torn up too.